Okay, we are on our way to Leavenworth, Washington, on the other side of the Cascade Mountains. We're going to go through Stevens Pass, and it's about a 120-mile trip. There is charging there. There are some charging stations along the way. We'll charge when we get there because we have headed back sometimes, and there's only basically two roads that you can get there with, and if one's blocked, you got to drive all the way around to the other road, which is a pretty long road detour. So we are going to be on our way in a moment, and we are not going to make you watch the departure today. We'll pick you up along the way. Okay, we are just leaving the town of Monroe, Washington, on our way to Leavenworth. We're going to be going on Highway 2 today, which should be a really scenic drive. It's 83 miles to go, and we have an hour and 31 minutes travel time from here. At any rate, it's a beautiful drive through farm country, and we will go through some small towns, and eventually we'll get into a mountain pass.
So we're passing the Reptile Zoo.
Yeah, there's a guy named the Reptile Man, and he used to bring reptiles to schools and daycares and to show young children about reptiles. At any rate, he still has this little roadside display there, and you can pull in there and see snakes and lizards of all types. Hopefully out through the windshield you can see some mountains off in the distance. Those are the Cascade Mountains, and it is early spring, so there's still quite a bit of snow up there, and it can snow pretty regularly this time of year. In fact, they do close this road once in a while for avalanche control. So, but at any rate, you can see it's one of the busier roads in the state of Washington, west to east and east to west. It is two-lane almost all the way, and there are some nasty accidents, which is why we'll charge in Leavenworth, because we were once traveling back from Leavenworth and got almost all the way back, and there was an accident, and it didn't clear for a long time. Might have been a fatal one. So we had to turn around and go back and go the long way, and that's about, I would say at least a 120-mile detour to get back to the other road and go around. So we will charge and be ready for that just in case, and we may actually go the other way home. So,
did you say you're going to stop using the self-driving stuff, or you're going to use it?
No, I'm using it right now. See, no hands. But you really have to keep your hands on the wheel at all times, because it will nag you if you, I think we said this in past videos, if it doesn't detect your hand on the wheel, it'll start beeping at you and make a lot of noise, shake the wheel around, and eventually it'll go into a shutdown mode, which I have not actually experienced. At some point we'll probably test that and see what really happens at that point. But right now it's driving along on the two-lane fine. It's keeping its distance between the front of our car and the back of that car in front of us, and it's working superb. This is not a road where you can do a lot of passing on anyway. It's not much point because there's 100 cars in front of the car in front of you, so you might as well just get in line. Right now the car in front of us is slowing down. We're still set at 62, but it's now driving 30, and we're just going to, like I said, ride the tail. We're entering this small town of Sultan, which seems like sort of a, I don't know, what, Middle Eastern, African name? What's Sultan? What is a sultan? We're in Sultan, the town, that's for sure.
You're just clutching at straws here for content.
we're talking about anything we can here.
Sultan, that reminds me of an African name. Now, why don't you tell the people about how much of a charge we had when we left?
So when we left, we had 100% charge. We've gone 35 miles. And when we left, it said we had 242 miles, I believe. It might have been 244, but we've gone 35 miles. We still show 216, so not doing my math, but believe that we've actually gained a little energy along the way.
Didn't you gain some right off the bat when we were driving in Seattle?
Certainly, because it's fairly warm out there. It's 61 today, so that helps our efficiency. We're at 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour, which that's better than at any time during the sun and during the winter, where we were mostly getting 2.9, 3, with 3.1 was really a good rate. See, now we've come to a complete stop. The cruise control is still set at 62, and it's all monitoring this car right in front of us. If the car in front of us, if I'm monitoring it, if it would have got out of control, I would have grabbed it, but I've got a high degree of confidence in its ability to...
Hey, look, there's Sahara Pizza.
Oh, so I was right.
Sultan.
The Sultan owns the Sahara Pizza because we are so close to the desert here.
We're close to the Sultan Bakery too, which is supposed to be good.
Oh, the Sultan Bakery is good. I have had baked goods from there before. This is sort of a little town. We're kind of one of your last stops before heading up skiing. So people stop here for lunch, coming home, dinner coming home. If you heard that little beep, that was the cruise control or the highway driver's assistant telling me, oh, you really do need to put your hand on the steering wheel a little bit harder. So that's what we did. We're rolling again. Now up to 35. Once again, the cruise control is still set at 62. We will never, ever approach that. At least it's unlikely. It's possible we will. There's a few passing lanes where you follow people like this, and they're poking along, and you hit the passing lane, and everybody's driving 80 for about a block till the passing lane ends. So then, so now we got a complete stoplight here. We're going to let this car stop. 23, 22, 21, 17, 15, 14, 13.
Oh, you mean on its own?
Yeah, on its own. Now the car in front of us is speeding up. We're speeding up. You may notice that I am actually not looking down at the dash area where the controls are. That's because I have in this car a really nice heads-up display that floats on the road out there, maybe 20 feet in front of the car, that has all the information I need. Right now it's showing me that the current speed limit here is 40, even though the guy in front of me is going 52. It shows me that my self-steering is on, my cruise control's on, what my actual speed is. It's telling me right now to keep my hands on the wheel because it doesn't think I'm holding it hard enough. And it will also give me navigation if I need to make a turn off of this road. So it's pretty great that way. Kind of loving it. All the new modern stuff that they put in cars today are just fantastic. Okay, now I'm actually gonna probably see what happens here. We're gonna go around a roundabout. I think what I'm gonna do is kick it off here for a second. Just kick it off everything and hand do this thing just because it's a crazy roundabout. Although the self-steering is still on, but I'm overpowering it.
You don't think it could have handled it?
It might have, but I'd rather err on the side of safety. Okay, so I'm just going to toggle up the speeds here. Cruise control is now set at 43, speed limit's 50. I'm going to just toggle up the speed to 62 again. So we're going through another little town here called Startup. There's a little thing that looks like a church off to the left here, which is no longer a church. Somebody lives there, and I think they also sell some things there. I've been in there for some reason. I'm not sure why. It's a little antique store with a great little truck off to the left. Really fun place to stop. And this, I believe, is really the last chance you have to get off of this road right up here coming out of Startup. If you want to go any other way, then directly to Leavenworth. Once you get past this next turnoff, there are no other roads south, so I believe it's right up here. Maybe it's Gold Bar. It might be a couple more miles, but once you get to that road, that's it. If any accidents that occur east of that road, shut this road down for all westbound traffic. So something to keep in mind. My old friend, actually I don't even know him, but Bjorn Nyland, who has an EV channel about in Norway, tests a lot of different cars. He says his favorite saying is ABC, always be charging. And the reason you want to do that is in case you start somewhere and realize you're going to have to double back 150 miles, you better be kind of ready for that.
Conservative, yeah.
So it's a good idea, especially on these roads. It's different if you're traveling on an interstate somewhere, but this road has fewer charging options. Fortunately, we are only 72 miles from our destination. We have 212 miles of range, so we are in no danger of running low on power. We are using one pedal driving today, which uses the regen to slow the car. And I quite often, if there's something that you really need to slow down in a hurry, then sometimes you need to tap the regular brake because regen is not fast enough. But generally, if you're doing that, it means that you're probably either too close to the person in front of you, or it's more of a semi-emergency situation. Okay, we're coming up on one of those passing lanes. We'll see what happens with the traffic. Maybe we'll cruise up to set the control at 70 and see what happens here, and see if we can go by this Prius. Even though the speed limit is still 60, we're going to go ahead and cruise at 70 here for a few minutes. Unfortunately, if we get up here too fast, we're going to get behind a car with a trailer, which is not going to be best for our actual video. What the heck is that on top of that trailer anyway? It's like some kind of giant inflatable bowling pin.
It does.
Hope we can catch it before I'm actually gonna speed up here a little bit faster, because I do want to get in front of that trailer if possible. Okay, now we're gonna slow and slide in behind the Audi here, which could be an e-tron. I see exhaust pipes behind it.
Why did you decide to?
Because I'm not in a hurry, other than
Look at how pretty that is.
I want to be in front of that trailer. I don't care if I follow the e-tron. This is a pretty curvy road. I may monitor the highway driver's assistance here, and I may actually shut it off depending upon whether I'm comfortable with the way it's going. It is the most efficient way to drive because it's better at monitoring the braking and the acceleration, which, as we all know, I tend to have a little bit heavier foot than probably optimum. I do think I am
As we all know.
As we all know. I do think I'm going to go ahead and manually drive the car here. Taking it out of cruise, taking it out. I think it's a curvy road. It's actually fun to drive on curvy roads. Also too bad that the lenses are so wide angle. The mountains here are majestic and high, and that doesn't always translate well to wide angle lenses, which tend to move everything off a long ways in the distance. Still, it's hard to actually overemphasize how beautiful the mountains are on this drive. This is just a day trip for us, something to stretch the legs of the Ioniq 5, which we are loving. This is, we've had a lot of cars. You might notice that I have on my chest a 6-speed transmission pattern, because we've had lots of cars, and our last fun car was a 2018 Miata Club model with a 6-speed transmission, which we took on a long road trip last spring down Highway 1 to California, 101 in Oregon and Washington, and then Highway 1 in California. Just a beautiful drive, and we had the greatest time. Then we went over to the east side of California, came up through Mammoth Lakes, and went to Lake Tahoe, and then came home from there. That was a fun trip. We sold the Miata to make room in the garage for this car, which I guess maybe the e-tron thought we were going too fast, which we weren't. I was kind of enjoying following him, but at any rate, it's kind of too bad. I guess he'll follow us for a while. So anyway, we sold the Miata so that we could put this car in the garage and put it on the charger at night, and we are really enjoying waking up in the morning with a car that's all fueled up and ready to rock. And in the wintertime, that involves preheating the car in the garage, so we can basically warm up the batteries, we can warm up the interior. It's just a super nice way to go. Oh, beautiful train going by. Hopefully we catch that on our front camera. So Burlington Northern and Santa Fe Railroad. We are coming up on a tunnel. There are a few tunnels in the Cascade Mountains because the mountain outcrops stick out right to the river. So the only way to get around it is to go through it. Usually they aren't very long.
Oh, that's moss.
So the moss in here, it's pretty wet all year round. You can actually see a little water on the road. It hasn't dried off. So the moss really grows on the trees in the fall, winter, even in the summer. It's pretty wet up here because we talked about the rain shadow of the Olympic Mountains in our last video. You might want to catch that. That was our last video about going to La Conner. The Cascade Mountains are a huge rain break. So the clouds back up against the Cascade Mountains. They dump all their moisture to lighten themselves up to clear the mountains. And then so the eastern side of the state is fairly dry. So it's wet on the western side, fairly dry on the eastern side. And it gives Washington State a really unique situation for climate. In fact, a lot of movie companies are interested in filming here just because of the variety. So wet on the west, but you'd think you were in Nebraska in certain places on the east side. So lots of cornfields and wheat fields, and then the mountainous region. The Cascade Mountains go all...
Did you see that? There was a sign for EV
charging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and by that they mean a J1772 connector, which means we could drag there.
There it is.
Yeah, we could actually. They have a plug there. That one was actually a plug in. Put your credit card in, and it'll charge you by the hour.
But that's nice.
Yeah, well, it's nice that it's there because you could be
stuck.
You could be totally stuck if you.
Well, there's some snow.
Would you like to say something, Carol? You try to get a word in.
I know. I'm just like, we got no content.
I had no energy when we started this thing, but somehow I've got some energy, because I'd rather do all my talking now than have to do voiceovers later. Now, there still could be some voiceovers later, but we're going to drive along. I see some evidence that some of these trees are getting ready to put on some leaves. And this is really a sweet way to travel.
Why is that?
Because it's just so quiet and smooth. Acceleration's smooth, the ride is smooth, the transmission never shifts, so if you're passing somebody, you got all the power in the world. I haven't even come close to using the power for anything there.
Yeah,
We're just
it's real
sort of
comfortable and roomy.
Drifting along. If we weren't busy talking, we'd be listening to the radio, and I promise on the way home we're going to let Carol listen to the radio. Let's talk about Highway 2. It's actually U.S. Route 2, but it's referred to locally as Highway 2. It travels west to east across Washington State from Everett to the Idaho border. It actually terminates in the upper Michigan Peninsula. Within the state, it includes two national scenic byways. Stevens Pass Greenway near Stevens Pass, and Cooley Corridor Scenic Byway near Cooley City in Grant County. We are traveling east from Everett today through the Mount Baker Snoqualmie Forest. From our Yakima video, you remember that the Snoqualmie tribe is the namesake for the Snoqualmie Pass and also the Mount Baker Snoqualmie Forest. Highway 2 runs along the Skycomas River on the west side of Stevens Pass and the Wenatchee River on the east. The pass itself is located at 4,061 feet above sea level. It's the home of the Stevens Pass ski area. It's also an entry point to the Pacific Crest Trail. You may remember that from the movie Wild, based on the book by Cheryl Strayed and starring Reese Witherspoon. Stevens Pass was named for John Frank Stevens, the first non-Indigenous person who scouted the pass for the Great Northern Railway. Apparently, according to historians, Native Americans knew about the pass, but preferred other routes like Snoqualmie Pass to the south. Stevens claims that there was no evidence that anyone was ever there before him because he found no human evidence, including campfires or campsites. As you leave Stevens Pass, the road drops away and heads towards the city of Leavenworth. Carol, what can you tell us about Leavenworth?
Leavenworth was settled in the 1890s when the Great Northern Railway was built and came through that canyon. And then soon after, in the early 1900s, a sawmill was established. And so that was the main industry there for the next couple of decades. But the railway moved to nearby Wenatchee in 1925. And in the 60s, there was a group of people who wanted to figure out how to keep Leavenworth a vibrant community, and they decided that tourism was the way to go, which was influenced by a trip to Solvang, California. So Leavenworth kind of followed in their tracks and decided to make a Bavarian community. So now they've got all of the faux German signs and festivals, and there's an Oktoberfest and all of that. But it was a brilliant idea because they have festivals year-round, all 4 seasons, and it brings tourists to the town all the time.
Okay, I'm going to say the bratwurst is pretty good. It's worth the trip to Leavenworth just for the food. And then they've got the accordion guy over here. I would rate the Munkenhaus brats at about, I'd say I'd give them a 9. What do you think?
Oh, 9.5, 10.
They have the great sauces that go with it, lots of good mustards, just delicious. We had 114 miles, 2.9 miles per kilowatt hour. That uphill I was kind of charging up, so we gained some of it back. We have 49% battery, and we are going to go charge and see what we get for numbers. Okay, we're going to plug in here. Whoops.
You want me to do it?
No, that's right. Okay, we're going to plug in here to a 350 kilowatt charger, and I'm going to have to shut my camera down and go to my app here. The time that says after recharging is the distance, that's how long we traveled before and what we used in energy and how long we drove. That will zero out as soon as I unplug and start the motor. Sorry, as soon as I unplug and start driving with the electric motors. We drove today in all-wheel drive, standard, normal. I'm going to read these reflections, but we're at 80%. Never ever asked me for my receipt, so I'm going to say everybody gets free charging today.
Well, we had a good time in Leavenworth this afternoon. We came, we ate bratwurst, and now we're headed home.
And thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel. Click the little bell button so you'll be notified when our other videos come out, and hopefully we'll see you soon. And oh yeah, click the thumbs up as well. Thanks.